working on a PokeMiku. In this video, I will be tackling the very intimidating, very large wig. I do have a part 1 video where I make the entire outfit for my PokeMiku. I am cosplaying the Normal Type Trainer Miku. I am partial to the Normal Type Trainer because she has a little bird Pokemon and I do like a good bird. Today is February 17th. Sakura-con is the last weekend in March, so I have about a month to finish this cosplay. So let's just get into it. What are my materials and what is my plan for constructing this wig? This is an Arta Chibi in the color teal. It was on back order, so it took 4 months to get here. Arta back order has gotten so bad in the last few years. So the thing about this wig is it is wefted in a way that it has a pigtail part in the back. And looking at this, you might be thinking those pigtails are really underwhelming compared to the reference. And you would be right. These are underwhelming pigtails. So imagine I make the pigtail separately, and then I have this base wig, and then I just attach a huge pigtail to this wig. I looked at the wig and I've pointed out a few different colors. You have the teal, which is kind of the base of the pigtails. Then you have a transitionary blue color. You have a much darker blue. And then there's also a green. And then there is also the tiniest bit of pink. Now, the problem is we have a little bit of a supply and demand issue for this wig. I also ordered a bunch of hair wefts for the pigtail that were teal, but they said there's no way we can get that to you before Sakura-con. So we're improvising. I got some ponytail clips in the color teal from Arta. So I don't have a lot of teal to work with. The other wig wefts I showed you are from Epic Cosplay Wigs because I was so done with Arta back order. So there are 2 YouTube tutorials that were like a big inspiration for how I'm going to construct this. So first of all, the Kinpatsu cosplay ponytail wig tutorial, and then my second big inspiration video was the Spaceman Miku wig. So if you would like to see how a pro constructs a complicated wig like this, check out those videos. If you would like to see how an amateur attempts to construct a complicated wig, then keep watching. So creating this connection piece, I am cutting out a piece of Warbler, and that is going to go across the top of my head, just like a headband. Then I'm also going to create some cross pieces just to have a little bit more stability in the place where the ponytails are going to connect. Next, I can measure out how long I want this dowel to be to connect into our pigtails. I'm thinking probably about 3 inches. And I got my husband to help me cut this because I don't like using power tools. Then I'm surrounding that dowel in more Warbler and connecting that to the Warbler headband. The thing with Warbler is you have to heat it with a heat gun. And I had this on a styrofoam head, and styrofoam also is meltable. And I went a little bit too hard with the heat gun. The entire headband just kind of started evaporating into mush. The styrofoam head started melting, so I had to like scoop this off of the head and reshape it. This will be worn under the Miku wig. Took the pigtails out, put the wig on the wig head, put the connector over it so I can figure out where I need to cut a hole in the wig. So I will need to cut a hole like right here-ish. Oh! Ah! Oh my gosh. Stay on the wig head. Ah! And then these are styrofoam balls, and they have been drilled into. So these styrofoam balls will have the whole pigtail structure on them. This is the vision. So what's next for the base wig? Looking at the reference photos for this wig, some of the darker blue is also in the base wig. So I had an idea. What if I wefted some of this darker blue color into this base wig and I took out some of the teal wefts? This way I would have more teal wefts to work with for the pigtails, and it would also be more accurate because I'd have the darker blue swirl kind of in the wig. It is February 18th. I feel like I've done a good job brushing it out, but I do also want to go over it with a garment steamer. I have never used a garment steamer on a wig before, but I've heard really good things about it. The thing about wigs that are synthetic is that when you rearrange the fibers, so like moving the pigtails up, you need to apply some heat to kind of like redirect the plastic fibers into the new shape. With some wigs, when they are put into updos like this, if you pull too tight on the pigtails, it can kind of pull the wig cap with it. So I wanted to try it on. It looks like it fits right now, so we can move to the scary part, which is chopping the pigtails and gluing them. I have one ponytail nub done. This is so stressful. I feel like I have a pretty good process now for how to do this, so I'm going to talk you through it. So like I kind of mentioned at the beginning, not having enough of this teal color is going to be a theme throughout this project. What I'm doing is I am setting a piece of masking tape on my little stool that I'm sitting on, cut off a chunk, put it down on the masking tape. Repeat that a few times until the masking tape is kind of full, and then I cover the other end with masking tape, and the masking tape is just a temporary way of holding all the wig pieces together until I can get to turning them into actual wefts, and I'll show you that later. The scariest part to this is if this pigtail holder should come undone in any way before I have glued this, essentially it's a lost cause. Like there's no way I could get this pigtail back into the pigtail holder when the hair is so short. Now let's do something with that hair that we salvaged from the base wig. I'm taking each one of these masking tape hair packages and I am putting them under my sewing machine and going over them with a zigzag stitch 3 times. This might not work on every sewing machine, but my machine seemed to handle it fine as long as the hair was thick enough that the thread had something to grab onto. Now this stitching obviously isn't as solid as the factory weft stitching, but it will hold the hair together long enough until I can figure out how I'm going to use it on the pigtails. It's February 19th, I have the day off work today, and I was planning on like knocking out a bunch of this wig build today, but I have made yet another blunder. I used tacky glue yesterday because that's what I saw all the cosplay YouTubers using in their tutorials was tacky glue. What I misunderstood about that though is tacky glue is the glue of choice for like aesthetic wig styling, but tacky glue is apparently not the choice for structural wig styling. So I used E6000 glue and I went over both the pigtails. E6000 you're supposed to wait 24 hours. So that means I'm just sitting here watching glue dry and Sakura-con is coming up so fast while I watch this glue dry. So I'm going to pivot to accessories today. So I'd say the most important piece for me to get done out of that is the glasses. Starting with our base glasses, I took some Worbla and I heated up the Worbla and then I just kind of molded it in my hands. You can fold Worbla in on itself and mold it kind of like clay. I took some wire and I bended it around the frame and again attached it with Worbla. And then I built the top completely out of wire. I just shaped wire into that shape and then laced wire kind of in between to make it very structurally strong. Then I took 2mm craft foam and I traced it out in that wire shape and hot glued it on. I'm gonna cover all of this up here with Worbla. There's all this wire and Worbla, and it does feel a little bit heavy on my nose. Oh, that's actually pretty impressive. It does stay on my face pretty well. If I were to make these again, I think I would have made this top piece like entirely foam. What's done is done, and I think it looks really incredible. All that's left for the glasses is priming and painting, kind of the aesthetic things. It's February 24th. I don't know like the words to explain what I'm about to do here. I'm just gonna show you. I have steel wire, 16 gauge, and I'm gonna start constructing the pigtail out of the wire. Now the reason this is on my head right now is to figure out how long I need to make this. So I use a wheelchair at convention because of my disability. So I need to make this adaptive too. There's like another layer of difficulty to this. I don't know if you've ever had your hair get caught in a wheelchair while you are pushing it, but it is absolutely terrifying. I do not want that experience. I'm just gonna have the wig stop around my waist. It's gonna go like a round styrofoam ball and then down. It's gonna stop like here at my waist. I don't know how I messed this up in this way. If your hands are bad because your joints suck, this may not be the project for you. However, if you are also incredibly stubborn, you can make it work. Comes together for the first hair clip, wide, comes together for the second hair clip, then it'll have 3 little hair fingers. I'm just gonna create like maybe like 4 to 6 figure 8s. Oh gosh, my face. So obviously I can't just glue hair to this. I mean, I could, but it wouldn't work that well. I need some sort of surface to glue the hair to. I have quilt batting. So this will kind of like wrap around the pigtail, and then I will glue hair to this. But I need a pattern. I need a pattern for this like double ellipsoid. And I will cover it in saran wrap and masking tape, and I will get a pattern that way so I can sew a little like sock cover to go over the wireframe. So at the bottom we have the tail with our like 3 little pieces. So this is just gonna be 2 pieces kind of sandwiched together because that part of the wig's very flat. Next we have our lower pigtail, and what is making this hold the shape is it has darts in it. So this is how the pattern looks when it is taken apart. There's a little connector piece here, but that's just a square. And then the top piece, very similar to the bottom piece. And then this is once again, just some darts holding it together. So the next part is sewing together our pattern. And while I have not been really great at wig styling so far, I am good at sewing. So I got to sewing up all of our darts. I'm just pinning together both sides of our triangle, sewing that shut. And then I'm sewing what I'm just gonna call the chicken feet part of the wig, because that's what it looks like. Once the pigtail cover is all sewn together, it looks something like this. I'm leaving the back seam open so I can pin it around our wire structure. And just for good measure, I tried on the wig with the pigtails and the pigtail covers with my wheelchair, just to make sure there wasn't anything I just hadn't thought about yet that could create a serious issue. So far, surprisingly comfortable. Like, it's really lightweight. I'm sure it'll be heavier once I add hair, but this is how it looks. It goes, oh, I lost a pigtail. Next would come putting hair on. You can still see white peeking through the hair, okay? And it doesn't look that nice. Now, one way I could solve this is just putting so much hair on this that it's impossible to see the white beneath. That seems a little bit excessive, and I don't want this to get too heavy either. The other option is I dye this batting fabric blue. So that means I'll have to get the good old dye pot out again. I'm not really gonna go into detail on how I dye fabric because I felt like that was half of part 1 of this build. It is March 2nd. It's con crunch time. I have this pigtail, which I've been working on during the weekdays before and after work, and this pigtail. Well, this is our pigtail. For this pigtail, I will be putting it together on camera with you guys, explaining the process while I just finish the other one rapidly in the background so that this cosplay can get done in time. Where I left you off last time was with dyeing quilt batting. Here's how it turned out. I also glued our wire to our styrofoam. Apparently 6000 glue just melts styrofoam. I had no idea. Well, unfortunate, kind of worked out in this specific application. It ended up melting the wire into the styrofoam. It actually has a pretty strong bond. So the next step will be taking our wire skeleton with the styrofoam ball and covering it. And then I will be hand sewing up the opening. The only spot that I'm going to leave unsewn is just a little spot where the dowel needs to go into the styrofoam ball. So next, I start the tedious process of gluing hair onto this pigtail. That means I'm starting with the chicken foot, and I actually did not buy any green hair for this project because I remembered that I had done some wefting on my Kishu wig, and surely I didn't need that much wefting just for this tiny little chicken toe, right? This is it. This is all the green I have left. So what I can do is say I cut it about here, make another weft, then say I cut it a second time here and make this a new weft. Okay, suddenly I have 3 layers of wefting. It's just really short. So that is the process I'll be using throughout pretty much this entire pigtail build. So after I have kind of initially glued everything and pinned it in place on the table, I bring my pigtail over to the wig head and I hang it, and I can arrange it so it will dry in the way I want it hanging. There's one last method I am also using to get this hair onto the pigtail. So for the top of our long wefts, these actually have like the factory stitching and casing and everything. So for these wefts, I am just hand stitching them to the wig. And then I will kind of glue them down to shape them. I'm moving on to the teal blue mixture. And from here, it's just rinse and repeat. It took an entire pack of wefts just to do the bottom half of the pigtail. And I have 4 wefts reserved for pigtail gluing. I am so glad I bought a few extra. It is Tuesday, March 5th. You can tell the con crunch is getting bad because I'm filming on a weekday. But I have the bottom half of both pigtails done, because we could run out of hair if we aren't playing it smart here. I have 2 packs of the same stuff I used here. That seems like a lot, but it's not going to go as far when I attach it to the top of the wig, because you'll see that if I attach this weft to the top, instead of cutting it into 3 smaller wefts, it takes the whole weft to make it from top to bottom. I also have all the handmade teal wefts. I imagine I might get like maybe 1 row of teal. And then finally I have ponytail wraps. And it's just kind of like a little like scalp piece. So I'm actually just gonna put this as it is on top. Like this. You can kind of get an idea of how the finished wig looks just by draping it on top. It is Thursday, March 7th, and I finished adding all of the darker blue wefts to the wig. I have not attached any of the teal wefts to the wig yet, but I did pin the ponytail wrap in place. This is pretty accurate to the final weight of the wig, so I felt like that warranted another wheelchair test. I also have not yet tried on the glasses and the wig at the same time. This is transport mode for my Miku wig. This is how I transverse the convention halls, how I browse the artist alley. Next up is photo mode. This is how I will pose for pictures. Second stage pose. Maybe do a spin to wow the judges. And third Miku pose. Back to transport mode to get off stage. Thank you, everybody. It is Saturday, March 9th, and today we are finishing this wig. And I have now attached all of the hair onto the wig, and now I'm gonna get into some styling. I tried the hairspray and hairdryer method. My hairdryer was just obliterating the way that the wig fibers were laying over this. So I switched to the garment steamer, which not only heats the fibers to reshape them, but it also wets them down a little bit so that I could form all the hair together into the balloon shapes. Now for the chicken feet, I am just covering these with glue to make sure they hold their shape. Glue is drying. I would like to make the last little foam accessories for this build. So that will be the hair clips, and I also need to make a bracelet. I have accepted that it's okay if the Pokeball rings and the shoe details don't get done for Sakura-con. For the hair clips, make a wire shape. I have these little wood beads. I'm gonna cover it with the 2mm craft foam, and then I'm gonna cover that with Warbler. I think just having an opening on the end and being able to slide it on and off will be enough. It is Sunday, March 10th, the final day. If you look at my wheelchair test footage with this wig, you'll notice that the wig kind of rests on my shoulders and it gets messed up pretty quickly. This styling would probably only last a handful of minutes at a con. So, to address that issue, I will be making a tulle shield. This fabric is tulle, so it's very light, very sheer. It's kind of like a netting mesh fabric. So with this fabric, I will be taking the pattern we made way back at the start, and I will be cutting that same thing out in this tulle fabric. That tulle will then be put over the pigtails as a sort of protective covering. One of these pigtails has the tulle shield over it and the other does not. And from a distance, it's really hard to tell. You gotta get really, really close to see the tulle. We're just about done, but I never styled the bangs. Nothing too crazy here. It's just the usual like teasing, hairspray, hairdryer stuff I actually know how to do. So she has like a little teal curl on the back, have a little teal curl I'm styling. For whatever reason, I thought it was blue and pink for the front curls, but I looked up the reference and it's green and pink. I have like no green hair. I have seen a pretty popular interpretation of this design where she's actually wearing hoop earrings and it's not hair curls. Yeah, I might just paint some hoop earrings. So now we are going to move to the last step, which is gluing the pigtails onto the dowels so that they're stuck together forever. I am fully aware how convenient it is to have these pigtails detachable, but the tutorial I was following had you glue the pigtails on, so that was my plan from the beginning. I was smart this time and I did a test. I tried tacky glue and wood glue on a spare styrofoam ball. Both of them did fine. I think I'll use wood glue because this is a wood dowel. The very last piece of this costume, which I've not spoken about at all, is she also has some little white bracelets. I didn't want to make these, so I just bought glow stick bracelets. I feel like those very much match the vibe of this outfit. After 5 months, I can finally say it. On to the final reveal of my PokeMiku cosplay. I'm never gonna make a wig this complicated again. I love how it turned out. So proud of myself for trying something new, something I knew I didn't have a lot of skills at, and just getting it done and trying it. This felt a little bit like a bucket list item of this is a cosplay thing I've wanted to do, but I've always been too scared to try. But cosplay is a hobby for me, maybe a side hustle at best. And the thing about hobbies is they need to spark joy. They need to be enjoyable. And gluing hair to this pigtail was not fun. There were parts of this process where I was just straight up not having a good time. As far as wearing the wig goes, this wig can do pretty much everything I imagined it would be able to do, except ride in a car with a low roof. Because I had to like curl up in the fetal position to even fit in the car. And I'm able to use it with my wheelchair. As you saw, I was even able to do a little bit of wheelchair dance. So after I got comfortable with it, I felt like there was a good amount of motion. I'd say it's about as uncomfortable as my Sailor Jupiter wig or any other like pigtail, ponytail wig where you just have a lot of weight hanging off your head. That's not super comfortable, and I'm not gonna lie to you and say it is, but it works. I'm really proud of how it turned out and being able to do that, but I am never gonna do something like this again. Yeah, that's my feelings on this. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye!